I did one, and it was like I wanted a footprint on the moon.
Right. Yep.
So I just assumed, and this is a terrible, never assume,
Well,
right?
again, because it's so literal.
Because it's so literal. It literally put a footprint, 5 toes, and yes, on the moon. It's like, no, people don't walk like that. So you know what I mean? Like I did not do it properly.
Yeah.
And it was just a machine. It's like, this is what you wanted, right?
You're listening to The Angry Designer, where we cut through the industry bull to help frustrated graphic designers survive and thrive.
Okay, buddy.
Okay, here we go.
Another year,
salute.
another episode.
Giant glass.
Mm-hmm.
We've had this before. What is it? Copperhead Road?
Copperhead. So this comes up like this is actually
Notch.
Ontario stuff.
That's
this
right.
is the Notch.
The Notch.
It
right.
worries me that it says moonshine. We're drinking moonshine.
Well, it comes in a mason jar, so that's kind of neat.
Damn.
It shouldn't even have a label. You know what they should do is just like marker it on there.
Right. Well, they might as well, because
Yeah.
unfortunately that label is not very good.
It's pretty crappy. Exactly.
Thank God that the Notch is good. 'Cause listen to me being Mr. Picky Ass. I'm such a jerk. Speaking of, I had the absolute worst client of my life.
I heard about this.
I had a project, and I'm talking, this client was belligerent. They were abusive.
Oh my
They couldn't
God.
make up their mind. What the hell? This was the absolute, in my 25 years, the worst client. So I'm recommending everybody,
Yes.
do not do work for your 12-year-old daughter. Okay.
How did she take the firing?
She wouldn't let me fire her. I thought she almost killed me. She almost fired me, and she was gonna come in here and direct you all.
I'll just get the team to do it.
She's gonna walk in and be like, okay guys, Moss is out.
You gotta change
He
him.
sucks. I'm in. This was the hardest
family. Yes. Oh my God.
Okay. So just for all of her angry designers. So the deal is, my daughter needed a book done, right, over the holidays, and it was a Christmas book.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, Dad, you know what? I have a Christmas book I need done. I thought maybe it's something fun we can work on. I'm like, okay, that'd be kind of cute, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking to my head, this is a perfect opportunity, to fuck around with Midjourney and DALL-E and AI, right? Because she wanted a Christmas book. And I guess, she was thinking I was going to illustrate the whole thing, but it was also 18 pages long. I'm not going to illustrate 18 different things.
And I bet your timeline was pretty tight too.
Of course, right? 2 weekends. 2 weekends.
That's it.
Okay?
Oh my God.
And we did start initially with illustration. I'm like, you know what? No. Let's go to AI. Let's do this in AI.
Yeah.
And she had no idea. But it's like, as I'm typing shit in and images are popping up, she's literally in my ear. No, that sucks. I don't like that. No, that's not what I was thinking. No, do this. Do it like that.
Oh God.
Wow.
Yes.
Right. And so under duress, I completed this book using AI for a good 6 hours. I was like, honey, go away and let me take care of this. But needless to say, obviously she got a killer mark on this.
Oh, she did good.
Duh.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I would hope so.
I would hope so. And needless to say, I submitted a bill to the school for $8,000 because now they're going to keep the book. They wanted a copy for their library.
Did they really?
She's glowing. Of course, she's on cloud 9 right now.
Wow.
Yeah, they're all pretty
Dude.
pumped. I know it turned out pretty good.
It looked great.
It was kind of fun, right? But it was such a learning experience because this was. I would never try to take something like this on for a client,
right?
But this was the perfect project, mind you, minus the abuse. Minus the abuse. But again, it's like it was an interesting learning, or it was an interesting experiment.
Yes.
Right, because I learned so much about, because every time up until now, I've just gone on to Midjourney and fucked around, right?
Yes.
Midjourney is so if anybody doesn't know, it's a text to image AI out there. It's one of the best ones, in my opinion. Actually, it's the best one.
Yeah.
And there's also DALL-E. There's a few out there, right? Which I've also tried. Yeah, Adobe's got theirs.
Firefly
Or Sensei, or they have theirs for sure, right? right? You're right. But I've never done it for a project from end to end.
Right.
And so this was a great learning experience.
Yeah.
And so even though I put up with so much,
the pressure from the top, it was a little
right. Like, I mean, it had its strengths. I mean, in the sense that the images it created were phenomenal. Like, one of those images probably would have took me days to do.
Oh God.
Okay,
yeah.
days. Even a digital artist doing the rough sketches, the illustrations, the mocking it, like, it would have taken days where, unfortunately, it was just drafting them up in minutes.
Yep.
But the thing is, that one image to get perfect wasn't necessarily done in minutes, right? It took me, so many attempts at getting, the prompts right and getting the composition right. And then it was rarely perfect. I would then have to take it, and then I would put it in Photoshop, and I would have to make my tweaks on it, right? Because, right now, unfortunately, it's not great at kind of consistency.
Yes.
No matter how good you are, and even the exact same prompts will give you, a completely different.
Yes. Yeah.
So this is where it was like the final product was fucking phenomenal. And I never, ever, ever would have been able to create this in 12 hours, right? Because that's how long it actually took, 12 solid hours and another 12 hours of crying and a lot of tears by me. And, but again, it was phenomenal. So it was an incredible learning experience.
Yes.
And honestly, I've been a fan of AI this whole time. And now that I've been playing with this, especially with the image or the text to image ones, right?
Right.
I mean, I like, the future is pretty clear. You can see what AI is, hands down, probably the biggest game changer for graphic designers that I think we've ever experienced.
Yes.
Like that whole 70s to 80s going from, hand done stuff to the Mac. That was massive.
Yep.
That was massive, but it was still slow, cumbersome, right? And although that, we've progressed and our skills have progressed, right? It was nothing compared to what this is doing, right?
Yes.
Like, this is fucking crazy. And I mean, think about it. We're already using it everywhere, right?
Yep.
Like, I mean, okay, it's a game changer for graphic designers because, well, think about it. Photoshop. Right? Look at all the AI now that we're just taking for granted.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, we've got like all these tasks that would have taken forever, right? Like the generative fill.
Yeah. Yeah.
Holy cow. Or the generative background.
Yes.
Dude,
that in itself. Like, sometimes you're just like, okay, I don't have enough image here and I need a little bit wider, just stuff on the sides. You used to have to clone that shit. You remember? Like,
absolutely,
and
right?
It was just, it's not right. You
would take that image and
not anymore.
Exactly. Because now it's like, I find a snippet, just a sliver. And I'm like, you know what? That's the girl, or that's the guy, or that's the layout I'm looking for. I just need more of it.
Of that.
And I've been doing this the past 2 months, like in some projects. It is so liberating because I can take a small image, that only has maybe 10% or 20% what I need, and then recreate the other like 90, 100% to fill the entire. And then, I mean, the flexibility on that, right? I can use it in brochures, on website, on a billboard. It's fucking incredible.
It's amazing. Yeah.
So I mean, that alone is changing how designers use Photoshop.
Yeah.
Okay. But then, the fact that now we can create images, from scratch. And these images can be perfectly tailored, or at least close to our audience or our need, right? Like, sometimes you'll see stock photography and you'll see the most perfect stock photography, but wrong person.
Yes, exactly.
You're like, oh, that guy's okay.
Yeah.
But if it was a girl, I needed a girl for whatever reason, because it's whatever, a feminine product,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So it's like, now you can go in there and tweak that and create that and create images that are so close to your target market.
Yeah.
Couldn't do that before.
Nope.
Without actual photo shoots and this and that. And then all of a sudden it's time, budget.
That's like crazy. Yeah. Cause you're thinking hiring a photographer, you've got to get the space and all this.
This is how it used to be, right?
Exactly. A model, the whole 9 yards.
Right. And let's face it, 90% of graphic designers go to stock photography to get their shit, right? So I'm not saying it's impossible, but you're seeing what this is going to wreak havoc on the photography industry for sure.
I think so, yes.
And it will. But needless to say, with that being said, this also like changes the whole image rights. Okay, let's face it, Getty
Yeah.
Horrible company.
Yes.
Man, what Getty does to people, you know, how they charge people, how they license.
Yep.
Then they've got that Getty credit squad that like scours the internet for anybody even remotely using a hint and scares them into paying. Like it's horrible,
Send you a
right?
menacing email.
Right. And I mean, we have unfortunately, you know, we work with another agency as well for one of our bigger customers, and they love Getty, but they're only using the comps. Okay. When they actually tell the customer, hey, you know what? You've got to pay for that. Well, and the customer gets a bill for $2,000 for one image. They're free.
Yes.
Right. Half the time we sit there and look for lower cost royalty free images that they can use.
Yes.
So, you know, this changes the whole image rights game for sure, which I'm kind of glad about because I hated companies like Getty.
Getty was easy. They were terrible, and they have done themselves a huge disservice by doing this. Because this is the kind of stuff where they're just going to be like, I don't even know. Do you think they'll exist in 10 years?
I hope they don't.
Probably not even that.
Exactly. They're going to have to morph. But you know what the sad part is? And I don't know if you've noticed it, but recently within, you know, Adobe stock, a lot of the other stocks, even in Getty's and iStock, you're seeing all this AI generated imagery. And you're like, you guys didn't hire a photographer for this. Don't even try. You know, you're not paying all these photography or all the licensing fees like you should. Like, again, they're just getting slimier and slimier.
They really are. And the poor photographers, they're probably hurting for work now.
In that sense, like, again, I think there was a boom for a little while, but that's pulled back. But needless to say, you know what? The image rights has totally changed. But then, you know, for graphic designers, planning and research now, okay, not Midjourney, right? Midjourney can help with mock-ups and proofs and stuff, surprisingly enough. But the planning and research, now that AI allows graphic designers, I mean, this just speeds up our lives, right?
Yes,
because
big
one thing it's great for is that it takes tons of information and it compresses it in an easy to use format, right? It'll take like, you know, we'll say like hundreds of pages worth of content based on, you know, products and people and this and that. And it summarizes it, puts it together, makes connections for you. Shit, it's so easy to create personas now based on this. You know, we had a customer that gave me like a 36-page document on 5 different personas. And I was like, okay, that's great. That's a lot of information. So then I scoured it all. I put it in, I uploaded it, and I was like, okay, give me the key points on each one of these personas. Let's create these personas. What are the best selling tactics? What are the best messages? What resonates? And it's smart enough to actually combine and put this all together, right? Which is pretty scary in a sense, but we're talking, first I would have had to go through 36 pages. Then I would have had to do all the research between, make the connections. This sped that process up so much, right? But not just for this. If I wouldn't have had chat, I would have just gone to Google and done this, right? So in my opinion, this is no different than Google. People are like, oh, you're cheating. Your chat's doing it for you. But the reality is, if chat wasn't around to make these connections and help me with this research, I would have just done it on Google anyway.
Google would have been
So am I still cheating by scouring Google, right? No, but I would have been miserable as fuck. Right? Because it would have taken me a week to sort through and find this information and this and that. So you know what? It's just speeding up the process. I'm still asking the right questions. I'm still digging the research. I'm doing the due diligence a designer needs to do. It's just now I have a tool that can search the web for me.
Yes, exactly.
You know, and pull all that shit together. So, I mean, again, it's changed in that sense. And in all fairness, brainstorming.
Yes.
Okay. This is massive. Okay. Because how many times, you know, do you just search the web for inspiration? Right. And you do that
all the time.
I do that all the time. Often that's how I, you know, start when you're creating mood boards before getting into a project or trying to get ideas. Dude, now with AI, this can help you brainstorm, right? Whether you're creating mock-ups, whether you're creating, mood boards, whether you're asking for prompting for layouts or anything else, it's not that you're going to find exactly what you're looking for. But it inspires stuff, and it's just clicking stuff. And I mean, that's the image side.
Yes.
When you're talking like chat or you know, like the learning language models, dude, this shit, you know, is like another person, and it's a brainstorming person, and you can bounce ideas. It's just scary. This is like, honestly, this is like the craziest thing I think that, you know, the potential here for graphic designers is too big to overlook.
It's a speeding train.
Oh my God.
And we can either watch it go by.
You'll be left behind.
Yes. Or we can get on board with this kind of stuff.
100%, right? Like it's ridiculous. So, you know, obviously Photoshop we talked about, right? And then I'm using Midjourney,
Midjourney,
of course, right, for this kind of stuff. And then I'll use DALL-E sometimes, but I do find Midjourney better for images, maybe because they're a little bit more creative or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm also using Chat. So those are the three primary ones I'm using.
You don't use
all
the
time.
Adobe one at all?
No, no,
okay.
not yet.
Wow.
I should.
Yeah, I like it.
But I haven't. I just haven't because, I mean, I'm starting to learn the strengths and weaknesses of some of these platforms.
Right. Okay.
So it's just, you know, and maybe I should, you know, jump on Adobe since Adobe has everything else. And I like what they're doing with it.
Yeah.
But they're not shying away from it.
No,
They're
certainly
completely
not.
transparent.
But I just wonder how, like, in the comparison would be to, say, like Midjourney or even DALL-E, because DALL-E was the first, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't find DALL-E was as nice as Midjourney.
No, I agree.
Like
Midjourney always had a little bit more of a creative flair to it.
Yes.
And I think that's why people lean towards
Right.
Midjourney, right?
Okay, so
where
that's the-
DALL-E was trying to be very realistic right from the start. I
Right.
think Midjourney appealed to creatives
Yes.
instantly,
Yes.
and the shit that you could create with
Is
just some prompts was just phenomenal.
amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But you know, like the one thing that I've noticed, and regardless if it's Adobe,
Yeah.
if it's Chat, if it's Midjourney, DALL-E, right? No matter which ones you're using, they all have one thing in common.
Mhm.
Okay. And that's they all require prompts to get you results.
Yes.
Okay. And this is going to be, in my opinion, the single most important thing that graphic designers have to learn in the next few years is how to become fucking prompt masters.
Yes.
Right. You hear this prompt engineering bullshit term everywhere, right?
Now that's a thing. Yes.
It's a thing, right? But this is going to be it's new and it's an important skill that graphic designers need to learn, not want to. This isn't a matter of, you know, like, you know, you're going to have to do it or shouldn't I? This is, you are 100% going to have to learn this.
Exactly.
You might as well jump on this shit because it's important when dealing with AI, okay? In my opinion, for two reasons, okay? Number one, it reduces the AI's own interpretation of what you're asking. Okay. Every AI interprets an ask different. It interprets prompts.
Right.
Okay. So if you only type in the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Over and over and over, it's going to give you its own interpretation of that prompt. And don't forget, right? AI is extremely literal.
Yes.
Extremely literal.
Yes.
Okay. So you can't use nuances, slang, terms, right? And it takes a little while to try to figure, because again, as designers, we think, you know, in flourishes, we create, we speak, we're expressive, right? Yeah, that doesn't work so much with AI because the people who have built AI aren't necessarily like creatives like we are.
Yes.
So you need that because again, it reduces its own interpretation of what you're asking. Okay. So this is why you have to, you know, why it needs prompts, number two. And then number two, you know, the reason why clear prompts are essential for AI is because it ensures precision when you're trying to create something.
Yes.
Okay. Because there's nothing more frustrating. And I learned that with this, going through this with AI, with Midjourney on this book experiment. Like I constantly had to go in and I was refining and refining and refining because, you know, it really struggled to keep things consistent.
Right.
Okay. I was able to get pretty damn close.
Yeah.
I was able to piece together a book that 9 times out of 10 people would see, they would look at it and they're like, that's brilliant. That's great. It's perfect.
Yeah.
But I did that because as a designer, I learned, you know, I knew what I had to do in Photoshop. I knew what I had to do with the composition, the layouts. And I was Photoshopping probably half as much as I was creating.
You were creating.
100%.
Okay. Oh, so it is that involved then.
It is extremely involved in that sense. And that was this process, right?
Yeah.
So those are the two reasons why clear prompts are essential when dealing with AI, right? You need it to just reduce AI's own interpretation of what you're asking for,
right?
And you need it to create consistency throughout, right?
Yeah.
But that's the challenge, right? Because again, most people, there's no clear prompt directory out there. There really isn't, and I think that's the part I was struggling with because I tried to research this, and everybody's got their own take on this.
Exactly. Yeah, it's interesting because I've seen prompts and any of the examples that have come up with, you're right, it's super specific.
Yep.
Like down to sometimes even down to the f-stops for photography.
It can be, yes.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like that, like this is really dialing shit down.
It is. It's true, right?
Which is awesome, and that totally
it's
makes
good,
sense.
right? Because again, what that does is it reduces its own biases.
Right.
And it's like,
this is what that looks like.
This is what that looks like. This is the look you're going for.
Yes.
Okay, I'll deliver it like this.
Just like that.
100%, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, things to include for really, really, really good prompts. Okay.
Well,
Wait. Back
this
it
is
up. Okay.
gold.
I'm also going to talk about the top 10 things I discovered in dealing with Midjourney. So, guys, stick around for after all this.
Yeah, and a family member.
And family and another top 10 list of dealing with your 12-year-old daughter. Unfortunately, that one turns into 20,
That's
30,
it, yeah.
but yeah.
It's the Angry Therapies podcast.
It's the Angry Therapies. So what I discovered, things to use, for good prompts, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So obviously you need to specify the style that you're looking for, okay? And what I mean by style is, what is the style of the image that you're looking for?
Right.
Is it a pencil sketch? Is it pastels? Is it a watercolor? Is it, realistic? Is it a cartoon, right? So you have to include something about, this kind of style that you're looking for. You need to define the composition. Right. And the perspective. And what I mean by that is you need to, the composition. Are we talking about a close up?
Yes.
Are we talking about, macro or a wide angle look? Right.
Yes.
You need to specify this because otherwise it's going to give you whatever. And when it comes to the perspective, right? Are you looking at it from the ground up, like you're
like
down up, looking up at like something that's massive, like mountain-like, or are you looking at the top down, right?
Yes.
A bird's eye view.
Yes.
How a bird would see a car is very different than how a worm would see the car.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Or a bird flying versus a bird on the ground.
On the ground.
So this is why perspective is extremely important, and it changes everything. It understands that, right?
Yeah.
Obviously the environment and the settings, right? Are you indoors? Are you in the jungle? Are you on the fucking moon? Right?
Yes.
You need to, consider specifying the environment that you're trying to create or the setting. Really important, like you said, is the camera setup.
Yes. Yeah.
It's as ridiculous as it sounds. Okay, granted, the AIs don't know the difference between a Nikon and a Canon.
True. Yeah.
But it does know the difference between a DSLR and a digital image. Are you looking for something vintage looking? Are you looking, through an analog lens, a fisheye lens, a wide angle lens?
Right.
It understands that. It understands f-stops.
Yes.
It understands your ISO settings, right?
Yes.
It absolutely. So the more you know how to actually, define the camera look that you're looking for, the better the final product will look like. Absolutely.
Yes.
You need to consider lighting, right?
Lighting.
As crazy as that sounds,
huge, yes.
right? Are you looking
right.
for, something cinematic?
Yes.
Huge. Okay. And I think that's why Midjourney took off, is because everything in Midjourney looked cinematic. That's why people liked it.
Yeah.
It's like, you could be a dolt and all of a sudden you create something that looks like it's from fucking Blade Runner or something, right? It's really cool. It seems like
awesome.
it really created a lot of cyberpunk
Cyberpunk stuff. Yes.
I like that. I'm good with that.
It's great.
But I mean, when it comes to that, or maybe soft lighting.
Yes.
Or daylight, maybe, you're looking, or vibrant or neon. Okay.
Yes.
So all these different lighting styles are crazy important for this. Okay.
Yeah.
But then you've also got facial expressions, okay, to point out and say, I want, somebody who looks ecstatic, sad, looking at the camera, intimidating, right?
Yeah.
Like it really recognizes the look, the feel, but no, absolutely include that.
Yeah.
Okay. If you don't have a giant list already of 1,000 prompts, you can consider, adding something about fashion.
Yes.
Right? Are they looking grungy?
Bell-bottom pants or something like that.
Bell-bottom pants,
Yes.
leather jackets, biker jackets, punk style, right? It recognizes these, is it like haute couture and high end versus, just kind of like hip hop and trendy and urban.
Yeah.
Like it actually will pick these hues up, right? When it comes to prompts. Yeah. And then of course, I know this one is really scary, or people don't like this one, but when you give it references.
Oh.
And by this, I mean, newsflash, right? Like if you didn't know, it used a history of art in order to upload in there and understand what a Van Gogh looks like and what a Basquiat looks like. And if you're looking for these kind of art styles, you can reference this, right? You can reference artists, you can reference directors in movies, right? You can. And as long as and it's funny because it's like they get around this. You can't ask for a Zack Snyder looking, image.
Right.
But you can ask for an image in the, sense of, or like as
Justice
though,
League or something like that.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
And then it will actually give it to you. So you do have to kind of play with, that whole ethical part about give me a Zack Snyder picture, or give me a picture that looks like someone like Zack Snyder would envision or create.
Right. Yeah.
It's pretty crazy in that sense.
Super person. How about something like that? Yeah. That's you're infringing on a little bit of a copyright.
A little bit of a copyright, right?
Yeah.
But you know what? At the same time, I do have issues with this because, while I feel bad for the artists that, that they used a lot of the images from.
Yes. Yeah.
This is no different than a designer going online and looking at a Basquiat, painting and being like, that's what I'm looking for. I'm going to create it looking like this.
Right. It's inspiration. That's
it really is.
And that inspiration creates the next generation of artists, right?
And it's true, right?
Yeah.
It's that good artist copy, great artist steal, right?
Exactly.
This isn't, it's not going to recreate a Van Gogh painting like you, but if you're like, give me something, a downtown business scene, in a pastel, and or oil inks, and I wanted to have a night setting like starry night or whatever, something like that. Yes.
Well,
you know what? I don't need to copy, or rip off directly AI, Van Gogh.
Yeah.
I can go online and try to mimic it myself.
Exactly.
So that's kind of questionable.
Yeah.
However, there is the option to upload an image and have it copy that.
Oh.
And that's that image prompt idea. You can upload it to Discord. You can upload it to, Midjourney does it, DALL-E does it, right? So you could, and there's other ones that you can upload, and it gives you a good head start. That could get a little questionable depending on if I'm directly uploading one and being like, here, mimic this.
Yeah, do this. Yeah.
Okay, that one might be a little shady. But I mean, these are just, and this just scratches the surface, right? You need to consider these things when creating good prompts. Okay. And again, there's this whole fluid flow and the expression and the speak that you have to add these all together to make them important. But I mean, nonetheless, this is, the future of, how we're going to be working with AI.
Totally.
We have to learn how to speak prompt language or whatever the hell this is, right? And I mean, I don't know if that they're all going to end up following the same kind of prompt structures, right? Because they won't. Right now, they're very different. How you ask DALL-E something versus how you ask Midjourney something. Yeah. The same result, the same prompts in one versus the other.
Will be completely different.
Very different yields.
Really?
Oh, yeah, very different results.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Why is that? Is that because of what they've done to create it?
Probably.
Like
I'm guessing,
the information
right?
they've used.
Yeah, or maybe it's just how the AI interprets it. And maybe, like I said, each have their strengths and weaknesses.
Right.
I don't know if I would go, realism, I don't know if I would necessarily go to Midjourney. I would probably use DALL-E if I wanted something to look a little real.
Oh, okay.
However, this kid's book that I did for my daughter, my evil daughter, my mean daughter, who I love very much.
From hell.
Worst client in the world, but a fucking amazing daughter.
That's right. See the past episode.
But I mean, again, it's, for what we were creating with her, Midjourney was just a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It was a no-brainer to just kind of head into.
Yes. So how did you keep it consistent looking?
So again, it was, the options. So prompts.
Yeah.
Right. You're doing a lot of iterations. You're experimenting.
Okay. So this is just, you're not landing on that.
Well, no. So you land something and you're kind of like, okay, I kind of like the way this guy looks. I like this angle. Right. And then again, the way Midjourney, not that we're going to go into Midjourney lesson here, but you have the option to do a variation of image 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you all of a sudden say, be like, give me a variation of this 4,
with
right?
a new.
Right, you can tweak a prompt.
Oh, you can,
right? Because it gives the new Midjourney, right?
Right.
Gives you this option, right? That you can add or tweak a prompt, and that's the most important thing, right? Is you're constantly iterating on the same thing and over and over.
Right.
However, Midjourney does offer this variation or this versions or whatever, and you can give me variations, and it seems to try to follow similar features, right? But what it is once you, so I mean, obviously I cheated in a lot of ways. Well, not really cheated.
No.
I did what I was supposed to do. I learned how to use these prompts.
Yeah.
I did experiment. I was like, give me, an elf, in the style of Mo Willems.
Yeah.
Give me an elf in the style of Dr. Seuss.
Yes.
Give me an elf in this, and I kept on like putting
Going
different
from the-
artists, right? And then it would give me an artist. So then I would always keep that very simple. So then no matter what, I was always going to end in the likeness of Mo Willems illustrations or this, right?
Cool.
You would have to do that. Then once you start, front loading a prompt, right? I would copy that and I would tweak things, right? Big brown eyes, expressive features, right? Then it's like, oh shit, I can't use expressive features. I would have to put expressive eyes. I would have to. So it's
more
like
specific,
and then you'd get more specific.
Okay.
But there is a limit to how many items or characteristics or niches you can actually put in there. Right? There really is. So it's funny because when I started the book, till when I finished the book, Midjourney did a huge upgrade. And it's like, it almost changed the game altogether for me. So it's funny.
Wait, in 2 weeks?
In 2 weeks, it jumped. They don't warn anybody.
Holy fuck.
So, and it's funny. So what I did is, and then oddly enough, so what I did is, obviously I created this for Bella, right? For my daughter.
Yeah.
And it was a giant book. It was like 18 pages. And it was grueling effort, but I learned so much by doing it, right? And then it was like, we do a Secret Santa.
Yes.
And I had my niece, right, who is, by no means, she's like 25, right? So she's not a kid by any means. But I knew she was very empathetic. She was very, she liked this kind of stuff. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to make a book for her because she's allergic to cats.
Yeah.
Okay, but she has the world's best names for animals, right? So I always said if I could have a cat, I would name him Mr. Business. It's just.
So you made a book with Mr.
So I made a book about Mr. Business. Okay. And the other character was, she always said she wanted a pug, and if she had a pug, she would name it Goose. And it's just
Mr. Business and Goose.
Right. And it was a whole story about, Mr. Business was all business, like shiny things. Goose was all fun and playful, right? And then Goose helped Mr. Business, find, like the best parts about, giving, right? And it changed his ways. So this was old Midjourney versus the newer Midjourney. Yeah. The newer Midjourney, again, what I learned from before changed the experience on the second book, right? Better Midjourney, of course, but then I was able to transfer a lot of the same knowledge, the prompts, and it was much quicker. I was able to replicate the same style, the same images. Still needed Photoshop quite a bit.
You did, yeah.
But needless to say, once I found a style, and it was a very pastel-looking style, and using like oil pastels and such, right?
Cool.
It was able to mimic that over and over, create similar characters. It was a totally different experience.
Nice.
Yeah. So in the course of like 3 weeks, I created 2 of these crazy books. It's going to be my new go-to, okay? Whose birthday's coming? I'm going to create them a book.
Oh, that's awesome.
But needless to say, I think I learned some really valuable things.
Yes.
Okay? Because again, everybody's always wondering, is AI going to take over graphic designers? Is it going to take over? So I learned, this is kind of where this whole episode idea came from, right? I've come up with a list of the top 10 things I learned from using Midjourney as a graphic designer.
Yes.
Okay. Because we always talk, and I'm passionate about, obviously passionate about graphic design, and I love learning about AI because I know that this is going to be a big part of our future.
Yep.
Right. So I came up with a list of things that, are what I learned.
Yeah.
Okay. From doing these experiments. Okay. So number 1. Okay. Learn the language of prompts.
Oh.
Okay.
Amen.
First and foremost, okay, this is something that, and I noticed the big difference between the first book and the second.
Yeah.
Because I noticed they netted results. Same, different, right? So I would get the same type of results, and I could start creating that whole consistency that, AI is lacking, of course, right?
Yeah.
So number 1, I think it's incredibly important for us to learn the language of prompts.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 2, specificity is key.
Yes.
Okay, we already talked about this, right? AI is so literal that, if you're going to rely on it to kind of give you what you want just by, 1 or 2 prompts, man, you're going to be on that thing for hours.
Yes.
Okay. However, the problem is you can't overload it with 1,000 prompts either, right?
Yeah, it's unlimited. You could go nuts with this stuff.
Absolutely, right?
Yes.
You got to make sure that you're specific about things like style, mood, colors, right? The context. And then this, kind of helps AI create what you're looking for.
Yeah.
So instead of just saying, give me a bird, give me a bird sitting in a nest, what you really should be saying is give me this type of bird that looks like this in this position, from this view of the bird and what it's doing, right? Like, so again, you have to be, so the more specific you are, the better the results that you're going to get for this, okay?
And here's the creative opportunity.
Absolutely.
This is kind of like our wheelhouse, right? We're creative people. this is the visions that you're translating from your head to
this.
This
is the challenge.
That's the thing.
Okay,
that's the
because
big key.
Like I said, I think prompting is the future for us. We have to learn how to prompt.
Yes,
because we don't speak the same way we visualize.
Yes, exactly.
And that's the challenge. I know, how many times it's like, I know what looks good. I may not be able to describe it.
Yes.
But I know what I'm looking for. I may not be able to articulate it.
It's just that fuzzy. Yes.
And we do a lot of trial and error as designers. We're in Photoshop, Illustrator. We're putting this shit together. No, you know what? We need to learn how to become more expressive.
Yes.
How to actually, and that's why prompts are huge.
Yeah.
So this is like a whole new language for us, right? Number 3.
Yeah.
We need to understand its limitations. Okay. And this was huge. Once I started realizing what it could do and what it couldn't do, I was playing into what it couldn't do better. I was able to control things a little better, right? It doesn't do everything.
Yeah.
Okay. And because of that, unfortunately, I had to understand that, look, it's not going to give me the perfect image.
Right.
I am going to have to use Photoshop.
Yes.
I'm going to have to replace eyes here, change the composition here, right? Understand that it has limitations. And as designers, we need to work with that.
Yeah.
As soon as I started doing that, the whole book started just coming together.
Yes.
Right? It was like, I'm not going to be able to get that same little elf in every position I'm looking for.
Exactly.
I just had to get creative.
That's right.
And the final product was like, wow, that's a great idea. It's intentional. You did great.
Yeah.
I was just working within its limits and my capabilities.
And your capabilities.
Absolutely.
And your knowledge of Photoshop, right? Because
oh my God, 100%.
So you're going in and you're going to change eyes and stuff like that. So
absolutely.
You've got to have that skill set.
Absolutely, dude.
In order to do that sort of thing. So yeah, that's absolutely awesome. Like I did one and it was like I wanted a footprint on the moon. Right.
Yep.
So I just assumed, and this is a terrible, never assume,
well,
right?
Again, because it's so literal.
Because it's so literal. It literally put a footprint, 5 toes, and yes, on the moon. It's like, no, people don't walk like that. So you know what I mean? Like I did not do it properly.
Yeah.
And it was just a machine. It's like, this is what you wanted, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, funny enough,
okay.
That's my number 4. That's my number 4. Understand that it's an iterative process. You are rarely ever going to type and get what you want. It is tweak. How many times did it take you to get that image?
A ton. Yes, right? Exactly. Well, the first one, the footprint on the moon, that was easy. But trying to get the one I really wanted was a lot harder.
Honestly, it's a totally iterative process. Like the results are just a starting point, the first results, and this is where the prompting magic comes into play.
That's
right? You got to tweak and tweak and tweak. So be prepared that chances are you're not going to get it straight out the gates.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
This is the whole idea, but you need to be able to expect to combine human creativity.
Yes.
And AI.
Yes. There we go.
100%. Right. We need to be able to experiment with different types of prompts. Right. It's not good at abstract ideas. Right. So this is up to us to include this stuff or unconventional ways of thinking or explaining things. Right.
Yeah.
This is a two-way street. It is, it's not going to do it for us. Right.
Right.
And then again, obviously, you're going to get some really shitty results, but you can also get some really cool shit by happening, right?
Totally.
It is a two-way street, and it's a tool for us in that sense, right? And understand that you will be using extra tools, you will be using Photoshop, you will be, whether you're in, even if you're in chat, you'll be using other processing things to put what you're building together.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Number 6.
Number 6 out of 10. Experimentation leads to discovery.
Ooh.
Okay, and this is important because again, there's no book out there right now that's prompting magic.
Right.
There's nothing that says this is how to prompt.
Yeah.
So you have to give yourself enough time. You have to give yourself enough curiosity to experiment and put in. What is? It's funny. Even if you change what the order of the prompts are, you will get a different result.
Yes.
Right? Which is fucking mind-blowing. Right. And it was frustrating, but it made a difference.
Yeah.
So again, experimentation leads to discovery, and oftentimes really good discovery, really cool shit.
Interesting.
Obviously, you need to leverage style references and inspirational sources. And I get it. Some people, might be pissed about this. They might be offended. They may not want to. But again, as long as you're not using anything that's extremely recent or something that is blatantly copyrighted and you can't absolutely like the Mona Lisa.
Yes,
Give
exactly.
me the Mona Lisa,
Yes,
right?
yes.
No. As long as you're not doing something like that, what this does is these references will help guide you closer to what you're looking for, right? And again, that's the whole idea. Going back to our whole idea, our whole process about, you want to reduce AI's interpretation of what you're saying, and you want to ensure precision going forward. Well, if you want to ensure precision, you need to give it references. And if it is, in the style of Van Gogh, Starry Night, so be it if that's what you're looking for, right? Be prepared to do that. Number 7, color composition awareness.
Oh,
okay. And this was a big thing I learned.
It's huge. Yeah.
This is massive. Okay.
Yeah.
One thing that Midjourney is very used to, things are really colorful. They're really vivid.
Yes.
They're really
It's
vibrant,
yes,
right?
Big time.
Cool.
Yeah.
Not necessarily what everybody's going to look for.
If you're not looking for that, you're going to run into an issue.
Exactly. You need to make sure that you give it the color scheme you're looking for.
Right.
Explain, car racing down the side of a, mountain road, at sunset with vibrant orange and red highlights in the sky. Like, you have to, if that's what you're looking for.
If that's what you're
absolutely
going
right.
For,
you need to, because otherwise, and don't be scared to use, use warm tones, energetic tones, monochromatic tones, because it understands that.
Yes. Oh, okay. So you don't have to be specific.
You don't have to say, I want it blue and yellow.
Yes.
Because again, the nice thing about AI and platforms like Midjourney and DALL-E is, what it provides you sometimes is really inspirational, right? It is. It's just like, wow, I never would have thought about that.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going that. So
I'm going to go that way now.
While you want your color scheme, you have a path, you have a plan, right? Don't necessarily close off what it's capable of doing.
This is true.
So while if you want something that's yellow and orange, then say yellow and orange. But if you just want something bright and vibrant or something sunset-like, give that to it and ask for that and see what it does back. And see what it gets. But you have to specify the colors.
Right.
Absolutely, one way or another.
Yeah. Cool.
Number 9, stay relevant, okay, and updated. And the funny thing is, again, in that 2-week period, I worked on, I swear, 2 different platforms.
Yeah.
Different prompts. How they reacted to the prompts. It was such a slap in the face.
It
I was
changed
like,
that much.
I just learned all this and now I had to go back. It's kind of funny.
That says a lot about what this how this is in its infancy, right? Like it's growing
scary.
like a weed. And holy shit, like if it's gonna change that drastically in that short of time,
absolutely,
what the hell is it gonna be like in a year from now?
Absolutely.
Like,
you
shit.
need to stay relevant, not just with the apps that you're using, but with the other text to image apps that are out there. Right. Some of them, allow you, some of them have a side-by-side screen where on the left side, you can start, sketching with like a really horrible paintbrush.
No.
I'm looking for a mountain. Here's a really horrible, and on the right-hand side, it mimics it in real fucking time. It is so insane. That's mind-blowing.
That's
right?
crazy.
And that one gives you a nice level of, precision for the image itself. It still doesn't really work well with that whole consistency thing.
Right.
But man, if you're looking for a specific composition,
drawing it, a rough sketch,
fucking incredible.
Yeah. Wow, incredible. That's awesome.
And the most important thing I learned in this top 10 list of creating all this work, in Midjourney as a graphic designer, AI is a tool.
There we go.
And it is not a replacement for a designer.
It
is not. And we need to think of this as a tool. That's why a lot of people are apprehensive, about getting into here, because they're like, oh, this is just bullshit. It's all hype. It's all this. Right. But the reality is it's not going anywhere.
No.
But it's not replacing us.
Yes.
It's a tool.
Right.
God knows I didn't get anywhere. If, I couldn't just copy something and paste it. And I'm sure some people could. If somebody had absolutely no artistic, ability, they could just create an image, drag it, put it in a book.
Yeah.
Nothing would look the same. There'd be no consistency, right? It would just be pretty pictures that follow potentially a story, right?
Oh, yeah.
What I was able to create, was because of not just the images that were created, but because of the photoshopping ability I had, the layout ability I had, and I was able to create a book that looked consistent from beginning to end, even though a lot of the stuff in it was inconsistent.
Right.
So this is something that, I've come to realize, and the more I get into this, the more firmly I believe that AI is not going to replace us. No. It's a fucking great tool.
It's an amazing tool.
And I don't think that, it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And I do think that designers need to jump on this shit. And the sooner you jump on it, the more of a head start and figure out how to put it into your process.
Yeah.
I think the better you'll be as a designer.
Yes.
Yeah. Because honestly, if I was to try to recreate that book that I did for my daughter, in all fairness, I probably would be into it for 50, 60 hours minimum.
Easily.
Not to mention...
Well, when we went to Into the Woods, we saw what those designers, those illustrators were doing.
Yep.
The fucking layers. Just the layers they had in their illustrations is insane. And like that's a huge amount of time. So
and you know what, like guys like Tommaso from Lincoln.
Yep.
Fucking incredible designer.
Amazing.
I can't do that. He can do it for himself. I can't. Okay. But I have enough know-how and ability to get into AI and create an image that I am not physically able to create, by hand, but using this app, I could.
Right.
And not that I want to replace him, right? Because Lincoln would use him, and Lincoln, he could give a better specific image to it.
Yes.
But now, people like us could get an image that's of the same kind of caliber, in the same vein. And I know it sucks. But it really opens up the world for a lot of people who don't have that kind of ability or talent.
This is true,
right? And as designers, again, we aren't photographers, but we know how to take a photo and put it in a layout.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
We're not, typographers, but we're able to manipulate fonts in a layout and create a fucking fantastic layout, right?
Exactly.
And just like we're not illustrators, but now we can create illustrations to use in our compositions.
Yes.
So
you're right. It's absolutely, it's a tool. Because if
100%.
I remember, you have to rely on stock photography, like we talked about earlier. So if you didn't see what you needed, you had to go and do it, right? So that would be the impetus to learn how to take pictures, right?
Absolutely.
So I took a photography course to do that kind of stuff, right? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So this is essentially the same thing.
It's the same thing.
I'm using that experience.
Absolutely.
But I'm just putting it into my computer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This
Amazing.
is something that, is again, as a tool, is going to be so liberating. It's going to open up our futures.
Yeah.
And the ones who embrace it and run with it,
Yeah.
man, you guys are going to be so powerful. Honest, as designers, you are going to just you're at a whole new level.
Yeah.
And I firmly believe that.
Yeah. And despite the fact that your creative director was hideous.
My creative director, she was mean. Let me tell you.
It sounded like it was an amazing experience for you. Like that those two worlds combining. You're taking it into Photoshop and then
I learned so much going through this. So much that the second book took me a fraction of the time because I already knew how I went through it, right?
Yes,
so that's where it was like, and then again, it led to this podcast. And, and again, while I have been using chat, for a very long time, right? This whole Midjourney experience to create for us, I've only dabbled up until recently.
This is the thing, is we because of our circumstances,
absolutely,
we don't have a lot of time to kind of fuck around with stuff like this.
But now, man, can I, right? And again, this is a game changer, like absolutely for sure.
Yeah. So this might just take a weekend just to kind of fuck around with this kind of thing, right?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And
you know what? I think within a weekend, and I don't mean like a full 12 hours a day every weekend, but I mean within the course of a weekend, I think people can using these prompt ideas, and just remembering why you're using prompts, right? That you want to take away its own biases and you want to create consistency, right? Yes. Remember those two parts, right?
Take away its own bias.
Take away its own bias. Because again, otherwise it's programmed to do this. So, that, and then use some of the prompting tips, that I recommend, or points, whatever, right? And keep the shit in mind. Honestly, I think everybody will be shocked at what they can come up with.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. And thereby taking out the fear of losing your job.
And I think that's what a lot of this is, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. I think next week, maybe we'll talk about chat. And how I use chat. I think that's a whole other world altogether.
Chat
I think chat is huge for designers.
It's very Yes, it's absolutely awesome. And I remember we were talking about this. You use chat now instead of Google, right?
Absolutely. Half the time, I don't even have time to go search for something. Like I said earlier, right?
Yeah.
I could research Google, and I remember last year, the year before, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years ago, right? I would spend 2-3 days in Google just researching and remembering this and copy this and Now it's like, wow, what a time saver. Because now it's just like, I don't have to do that Google search. Now Google is annoying as hell.
Yes, I know.
And 80-90% of the time, I can find what I'm looking for, using chat. And I get it. Right. You got this whole idea that it has hallucinations and it's not always perfect, but it is like 90-95% bang on every single freaking time.
Exactly.
Game changer.
Yeah, totally.
So that'll be part 2.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think that could be fun, right?
This is great.
But this experiment and this experience, I think, was amazing.
Yeah.
And more than ever, I know I've always been a
great.
proponent of this, a proponent of AI for graphic designers.
Yes,
more than ever, though.
Yeah, big time.
You guys got to get on this.
Yeah.
You absolutely, and you are a fool, and you are looking, at the end of, you're looking at a finish line if you're not going to jump on this. And that finish line is not that far ahead.
That's right.
You want to keep going in the future.
Yeah.
This is going to be a massive tool and a big differentiating factor. This is going to separate, what's the word?
Wheat from the chaff.
Okay, the weak from the strong, the men from the boys from the men, the girls from the women, however you want to say it.
Something like that, yes.
Something like that without being offensive. Fuck me. You know what the hell I mean. Fuck. I sometimes hate this world.
You needed a better prompt, I think.
I'm going to go on a chat right now and be like, what is a non-offensive version of Boys to Men? And it'll probably give me a lecture on how that's inappropriate and I shouldn't use it. Yeah. So guys, take what I've learned here, learn from my experience, learn from all that pain and suffering I felt with my daughter.
Yes.
And honestly, jump on this right away because you guys are going to be missing out. And honestly, your job will rely on this.
That's right.
100%.
Totally. This is a great tool
Yeah, absolutely.
for us to have. Beautiful. This was great, man.
You know what, you guys, Angry Designers, let us know what you think. Hit us up on Instagram on our points. Let us know what you think about, your experiences using this. If you think it's all a bunch of fluff or how these are working out for you. And again, you don't have to agree with us.
No.
I totally love when people disagree and share their thoughts. Again, this is our experiences. This is what I did, and this is what I was just blown away with based on 25 years of past and what I just experienced now. And honestly, it's looking great. I'm not worried about the future of graphic designers.
That's good.
So.
And part of this, the inspirational part of this is like old dogs like us, and I haven't experimented like you have, but you've done this, you went through it, and you're still fucking excited about what the future has for us.
So excited.
Which is
so
great,
excited about
right?
it.
I mean,
Absolutely.
it's like that's cool. Like, not to be afraid of this kind of stuff.
Don't be afraid.
Embrace
this shit.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you guys like what you heard today. Please don't be scared. Leave us a message. Hit us up on Instagram, where everybody seems to love to come together and talk about this stuff. You know what? We're on YouTube right now, and we want to do a lot more fun stuff with YouTube. We're just trying to figure out our way through this. But, hit us up on there if you want to see these beautiful mugs in action. And it's not going to be AI generated, so you're going to see all the flaws, okay? You're going to be like, damn, they look like that?
Wow, who would
Hey, go
prompt
back
that?
to the podcast.
Go back to the podcast.
Until AI generation can fix this online and make us look like,
like a bunch of Fabios.
Right? All right, everybody. Stay tuned next week for ChatGPT. But otherwise, my name's Massimo.
My name is Sean.
Stay creative.
It's angry.